we're live. Anyways, so you might be wondering what I'm doing at um 1 8 a.m. Anyways, fuck it. Anyways, so I was trying to learn Rust. For what? Don't ask me. I don't know. And I was trying to follow this guide that I have on the site that is called doc.rust-lang.org, and it's the Rust book. It's the official book for Rust. I don't know. Anyways, so the next project, like I just learned about variables and everything. I just know a bit about variables and everything. So they, like, as a next, like as a part of the learning journey or something, they're asking me to build or learn. I don't know, like to program a guessing game. So like, let's just do it. I will sleep at probably 3 a.m. or something because there's a World Cup match or something. So I have to stay awake. So I am just trying to finish this, like this part, at least till here, till control flow or something, and just go to sleep or something. So I'll just keep on learning. So let's open Toasty. That's my terminal emulator, and we'll just go to desktop, right? And we'll go to Rust for fun. I have a folder there. I was just learning about variables, so we'll just create a new project. It's called guessing game, and now we are going to go to this thing. So we're just gonna go to guessing game, and we're gonna open the good old Vim. So there's a Rust file, a main file for the Rust. Now it asks us to let's jump into Rust by working through a hands-on project together. This chapter introduces you to the few common Rust concepts by showing you how to use them in real program. You will learn about lit match methods, associated functions, external creates, and more. In the following chapters, we'll explore this ideas in more detail. Anyways, blah blah blah. We will implement a classic beginner programmer problem, a guessing game. Here's how it works. The program will generate a random integer between 1 and 100. It will then prompt the player to enter a guess. After guess is entered, the program will indicate whether the guess is too low or too high. If the guess is correct, the program will print a congratulatory message and exit. Anyways, so they're asking me to, yeah, I just did that. Then the first command cargo new takes the name of project as the first argument. The second command changes, yeah, I know that. So file name, look at the generated cargo.toml file. um so cargo.tml, yeah, it's same as you saw in chapter 1. Cargo new generates hello world, anyways, processing a guess. So what they're doing is they are asking you to string, let me do this. Let's processing a guess. The first part of the guessing game program will ask the user input the process. Okay, so they're asking for a mutable string. What is this thing? Use stdio. Alright. The code contains of information. Let's go over it line by line. To obtain a user input and then print the result output, we need to bring the IO input output library into the scope. The IO library comes from the standard library known as the standard. Okay, so we are using, so this is basically the same as dot in Python, right? So it's two colons basically. By default, Rust has a set of items defined in the standard library that it brings into the scope of every program. This is called a prelude, and you can see everything in it in the standard library documentation. If a type you want to use isn't in the prelude, you have to bring the type into the scope explicitly with a use statement. Okay. Using you library provides you with a number of useful features, including the ability to accept user input. As you saw in chapter 1, the main function is the entry point into the program, right? Also, you learned in chapter 1, println is a macro that prints a string into the screen, right? Storing values in with variables. Next, we'll create a variable and store the user input like this. Now, the program is getting very interesting. There's a lot of going on. We'll use a let line to create a variable. Here's another example how. Acha. So first, they're asking me guess a number. Now what are we doing here? I have to import this thing for inputting and outputting, so it's use stdio. That's it, and this semicolon. I'm sorry. Now what's next? I will create a new string. Okay, is that it? It's a function. Okay, returning the guess into the program, you know that let mute guess will introduce a mutable variable named guess. The equal sign tells Rust we want to bind something to the variable now. On the right side of the equal sign is the value that guess is bound to, which is the result of the string, was the result of calling string new, a function that returns a new instance of a string. String is a string type provided by the standard library that is a growable UTF-8 encoded bit of text. Okay, and the new indicates that the new is an associated function of the string type. An associated function is a function that's implemented on type. In this case, string. This new function creates a new empty string. You'll find a new function on many types because it's common name for a function that makes a new. Okay, has created a mutable variable that is currently bound to a new empty instance of a string. Alright, now recall that we included the input output functionality from the standard library with use stdio on the first line of the program. Now we'll call the stdion function from the IO module, which will allow us to handle user input. If we hadn't imported the IO module with the use stdio at the beginning, function basing stdio, yeah, the stdion function returns an instance of, okay, fair enough, which is the type of that represents handled in the, okay, next the read line, next the line dot read line mute guess is called value input handle passing mute guess as the argument read the line to tell what string to store the user input in the full return next to the out of inputs the whatever the user inputs into the standard input and append that into a string without overwriting its content, so therefore we pass that string as an argument. So what are we doing here? Okay, so what I'm doing here is std stdn dot read line and so technically is this how you do that? Returning the guessing game program, you know that the let mute case will introduce a mutable variable named case. This equal sign tells Rust we want to bind something to the variable now. On the right hand of the equal sign is the value that case is bound to, which is the result of call string new is a function that means okay, fair enough. What happens if I just pass ampersand case instead of mute case like here? Hmm. Hmm. Fair enough. So the thing is, if I have to do this, key let mutable a or int one is equals to it's gonna be in data types, right? Hmm. Okay. Fair enough. So, receiving user input, handling potential failure with the result. We are still working with line of code. We're not discussing the third line of text, but know that it's still part of a single logical line of code. The next part is this method. that is dot expect failed to read line. We could have written this code like we could have written this code as IO dot read line at mutable guess dot expect. However, this line is okay. It's often wise to introduce a new line and other white space to help break up long lines when you call a method with dot method name syntax. Now let's discuss what this line does. As mentioned earlier, a read line puts whatever user enters into the string we pass to it, but it also returns result value. It's an enumeration of a context enum, which is okay, very fine. Compiling that is read line guess result maybe an error variant which should be done to note. Okay, generating a secret number. Next, we need to generate a secret number that the user will try to guess. The secret number should be different every time, so the same one to play on this. You will use a random number as an include a random number functionality in the standard library. However, the Rust team does provide a random create with set functionality. Increasing functionality with a crate. Remember, a crate is a collection of Rust source code files. The project we have building is a binary crate, which is an executable. The rand crate is a library crate which contains code that is intended to be used in other programs and can be executed on its own. Cargo's coordination of external crates is where Cargo really shines. Before we can write a code that uses rand, we need to modify the cargo.toml file to include the rand crate as a dependency. Open that file now and add the following lines to the bottom beneath the dependency section header that Cargo has created for you. Be sure to specify rand exactly as you hear this version number. The code examples in the video may not work. Rand does your 20.5. Right. In the cargo table file, everything follows a header part of the section that continues on section dependency serial cargo, which external crates to project dependencies are. Cargo considers these versions to have a specific rank rate with the semantic version specifier. Cargo understands the semantic versioning, sometimes called semver, which is the standard for writing version numbers. The specifier 0 is actually shorthand for which means any version that is least but below. Okay. Cargo considers these versions to have public APIs compatible with version 0.8.5, and this specification ensures that you will get the latest patch release that will still compile with the code in this specific in this chapter. Any version 0.9.0 or greater is not guaranteed to have the same API as what the following examples use. Now, without changing any of the code, let's build the project as shown in the listing 2-2. Okay. Yes, so basically what I do is updating crates. Right, chat. So what? After updating, Cargo checks the dependence section and downloads the crystals. So Autoing the Rust compiles them and compiles the project with the dependency variable. If you will run without making changes, you can get your performance and finish line. Cargo method will not be compiled. Cargo also runs the changes in code, so it doesn't compile that either. With nothing to do, it simply exits.
if you open the source slash main.rs file, make a trivial change, and then save it, you'll again see 12. So I'll put this. So if I just type build, Cargo has a mechanism that ensures that you can reveal the same artifact every time, or anyone else with physical organization. Alright, the main section, generating a random number. I have imported rand. Okay. So thing is, by the way, guys, I'm just lying down. That's why my typing speed is slow. I'm just trying, okay? Hmm.